Hey everyone, my name is Kenny Jones and this is my presentation on logarithms. So, what are they? Sounds like a pretty complicated concept to me, right? Wrong. They aren't as complicated as they seem. The definition of logarithms from Khan Academy is the exponent or power to which a stated number, called the base, is raised to yield a specific number. Now that definition is also kind of confusing, so the simple definition given by me is that logarithms are the opposite of exponents. I find that's a little easier to wrap my head around. Basically, logarithms are a shortcut. In math, there are a lot of shortcuts, like multiplication is a shortcut to addition. Like 3 times 5 is the exact same thing as 5 plus 5 plus 5. Same thing with exponents and multiplication, where 4 to the third is the same as 4 times 4 times 4. Logarithms are shortcuts to exponents, like 10 to the second is 100. Understanding logarithms a bit better? Hopefully you said yes. If not, let's keep going and you'll get there. So to understand a concept, you need to learn the history to see how it came about. So welcome to the mini history lesson inside a math presentation. John Napier and Juste Berge invented logarithms, but not together. Napier invented the idea of logarithms in 1614, and Berge expounded upon it in 1620. Both had the objective to simplify mathematical equations, so it pretty much make life easier for mathematicians to explore new math things. Napier's approach was different from Berge's approach because Napier had more of an algebraic view, while Berge had a geometric view. No matter what people say, it was definitely a combined effort from both of them to have the logarithms we have today. Natural logarithms are a little different from original logarithms that Napier invented, but natural logarithms, which are the logarithms we have today, accidentally arose from his original thoughts, which is why we owe it to Napier for the invention of logarithms. So what were they used for? Science. And more science. Lots of science stuff. And yes, I said were instead of are because logarithms aren't usually used for science anymore. But they made a lot of contributions in the early 1600s to fuel the scientific revolution because scientists spent less time writing out mathematical equations. Logarithms had a very good reputation during those times. So how do we use them today? You actually use logarithms a lot in the real world. Finding payments on a loan or the time to reach an investment goal is one example. People can also use them to find the intensity of an earthquake. If you ask me, that's pretty awesome. And of course, we use them in math to solve for some area problems in calculus. Logarithms are usually taught in Algebra 2, and after that, you use them for the rest of your life, most of the time not even knowing you're using them. The big question is there an artistic side to logarithms? For my math midterm, I had to identify a math concept in a form of art, and here's what I came up with. As you can see, there is a diamond. Inside, there are 4 rectangles. The very bottom rectangle are 2 circles and 3 stars. That represents the 2 to the third. The rectangle above that is filled with 8 circles, which represents what the product of 2 to the third is, which is 8. That's the first half of the equation. The next rectangle starts the second part of the equation, where logarithms get into it. So think of it as it's the opposite of the equation we just did. So in this rectangle, there is the logarithm symbol, which is log, with 2 circles next to it, which is the base of the equation. And in this equation, the base is 2. Above that, in the corner, there are 8 stars, which again is the product of 8 to the third. But we don't know that it's 8 to the third right now, or 2 to the third right now, excuse me. The purpose of logarithms is to find the base and which exponent will make the base turn into the number in parentheses. So in this case, it's 3. So in the top square, there are 3 stars because 2 to the third power is 8, and that is the answer to the logarithm equation. Why exactly did I choose to do a project on logarithms? Well, for one, they're super cool. So cool that if they were an emoji, it'd be this guy. And they also make life easier. I found that math was a little less complicated once I learned these. What did I learn by doing this project? Math can be pretty fun if you understand it and find things to make it more simple. Logarithms are also really awesome, and I was able to wrap my head around them pretty easily once I figured out what they were. Also, doing the artistic side of logarithms pushed me to think outside the box and figure out how to present it in a creative way that was easy to understand. These were my sources for the history and definition of logarithms. I would love to thank my amazing teacher, Ms. Willis, for helping me brainstorm ideas for this project. Also, thank you to Khan Academy for teaching me what logarithms are and how they make life and math pretty easy. Lastly, I want to thank my parents for teaching me to love learning and school, because without that passion, I wouldn't have been able to do this. And that is my presentation.